Hey everyone, Sparks here, and today I thought I'd do something a bit different. Instead of playing a game, I wanted to talk about my experiences with Star Wars. It's a series that I grew up with, and as I plan to do a playthrough of Fallen Order soon, I thought it would be fun to look back on the series and give my opinion on what I do and do not love about it. This video is going to be a very quick, brief thing where I talk about how I came into the series. And some brief thoughts that pop into my head about it as I go over it. So, let's just get straight into that. So, to say I grew up with Star Wars, that's not an exaggeration at all. Phantom Menace came out when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and sometime between then and the release of Attack of the Clones, my dad introduced me to the series via a box set of the original trilogy that he had on VHS. For those of my viewers who are too young to remember VHS, it's what we had before DVD. And if you're too young to remember that, then it's what we had before streaming services. Okay? Yeah, the 2000s were a fun time for the evolution of home video mediums. I mean, we've come a long way since then. Going from a big clunky box that had to be rewound back to the beginning every time you watched it, to a little disc that had a tendency to get scratched and skip all over the place, to, well, what we have now. Which, I'm glad how far it's come. I'm glad where we are now. Makes it a lot easier to rewatch these things. But sadly, we've lost a lot of things along the way. Because when I say these VHSs were the original trilogy, I don't just mean like the original 3 movies. I mean, this is how they were when first released. Well, not first released, but when they were released on home video for the first time. Okay? As a box set. Later versions got a lot of changes, either to update the special effects, animation, or to add scenes that were previously not in. Some of the changes were alright. Like, as I said, those little updates to make it look a little bit more polished, those are fine. I don't mind those. But there are a few other things that were changed and added that were a bit odd. For instance, the Han and Greedo scene, where for some reason they made it so that Greedo shot first and then Han retaliated. And then later they had it that they shot at the same time, and it was an unnecessary change, to be honest. I mean, there is no reason why Han wouldn't shoot first. He was being threatened. But having it that Greedo shot first and Han somehow dodged it was even weirder. It suggests that Han was somehow force sensitive and sensed the shot coming. Which, granted, he might be. He could very well be force sensitive, but it's never expanded upon, so that was unnecessary. As was putting Jabba the Hutt into that movie, when I originally saw it, I didn't see him until Return of the Jedi. But in the special editions, he shows up in episode 4. Which, yes, it's good to show off an important villain earlier on. That's actually not a bad thing. But the scene itself gives you the exact same information you would have gotten from the Greedo scene. So you only need one or the other. Having both is just unnecessary padding. I can see, honestly, why it got cut in the original. And, of course, replacing Sebastian Shaw the actor who originally played unhelmeted Darth Vader and this Force ghost of Anakin Skywalker in Return of the Jedi with Hayden Christensen. Don't get me wrong, I did have nothing wrong with Hayden Christensen. I actually think that most of the time he's alright. He just suffers from poor direction or bad writing sometimes in the prequels. But there was no need to put him in as the Force ghost. If anything, it looks weird. Because Anakin, as a young man, as an old man, looked very different. And I do get the feeling that, how would I put this? Luke would be able to recognize his father without his helmet in the Force Ghost form when it was Sebastian Shaw, because it was still the same actor, still the same face. The only difference was hair and removal of scars. That's it. He wouldn't be able to recognize him as a young man. They look nothing alike. It's such a dramatic change. I don't feel it was necessary, and it's stupid. But it is what it is, and I have to just deal with that when I'm rewatching. Who knows? Maybe when I rewatch it, it won't bother me as much. Struggling to actually say that with a straight face. Jeez. Anyways, I digress. When I watched the original trilogy, I enjoyed it. I got sucked into the story and loved every moment of it. For the most part, there were a few scenes. When I was a kid, I enjoyed every scene completely. As an adult, there are certain scenes which I do find a little bit annoying, but I can appreciate them for what they are. And yeah, nobody can say they actually adore every single moment of this series. There isn't a chance that there isn't at least one scene from each movie that you didn't enjoy. For instance, Luke Skywalker being an incredibly whiny brat at the beginning of A New Hope. Like, I want to go to Toshi Station! Like, oh my goodness, kid. You have responsibilities. And in fact, you're not even a kid. You're 19. Like, yeah. As a kid, it didn't bother me that much thinking back, but as an adult, yeah. Some of the portrayals in the early part, some of the writing at the beginning was not the best. But I still enjoyed it. I love the characters overall and their struggles. I love the lore behind the series, especially with regards to the Force and the Jedi and the Sith. That's fun. And the relationships in the series do feel real. Like, I think they do build them up to a good level. And the connections are nice and well established and developed. And so are the stakes. Like, my God, seeing Alderaan be blown up when I was a kid was like, what? They blew up an entire planet? How? What? Why? What? These guys are evil and they must be stopped. Yeah, that was always a fun part for me. And overall, I had a fun time. But it's possible part of this is down to a bit of nostalgia. Because I watched this with my dad. Like, every single part of the original trilogy and the prequels. When I first watched them, I watched each part with my dad. And we bonded over our shared love of this series. With the sequel trilogy, I think we only saw Force Awakens together. The other two I saw with friends the first time I saw them, because at the time that Force Awakens came out, I was still living at home. When the later two movies came out, I had my own place, and me and my dad aren't even living in the same country. So, yeah, not really easy to go see a movie together. But I still had fun with every part of this series. Certain parts of it in the later movies did bother me. Like, as much as people hate the prequels, I actually do enjoy them. And, well, Revenge of the Sith was actually the only movie before the sequels that I saw in cinemas. But it's still just, even if there are parts of the series of the prequels that I didn't enjoy. Case in point, Jar Jar Binks will always be my least favorite character. I'll get into detail about him more later. But I still had fun. Even what some people regard as the worst part of the series, I still had some fun with it. Overall, each movie still was an enjoyable experience. But, as I said, this is just a short video where I'm just talking about my experiences of how I got through the series. So yeah, original trilogy, VHSs I watched with my dad. Episodes 1 and 2, DVDs. Again, watched with my dad. Episode 3, saw in cinemas with my dad. Episode 7, saw in cinemas with my dad. Episodes 8 saw in cinema with some friends. And 9, saw in cinemas with the other half. And I also watched the animated series, which honestly are probably my favorite part of the series. Mainly because I feel like they are that, if I remember correctly, it's Dave Filoni is the name of the producer. Should probably double check that. Yeah, so, sorry, forgot names for a moment, but Dave Filoni was really good for bringing Clone Wars and Rebels to us, making them two of the most enjoyable parts of the entire Star Wars series, really expanding on the story, lore, characters, and improving on elements that some people didn't like. For instance, Anakin and Padme's relationship. Even I can admit their flirting and romantic lines in the movies are incredibly awkward. Their flirting and romantic scenes in Clone Wars are amazing and feel so genuine. And the same goes for, well, all of it, really. I do hope over the course of the next few weeks before my playthrough of Fallen Order comes out, to have a chance to rewatch all of the prequels and the show, but I don't have as much time as I would hope to have, especially because I still have to get recordings done so they're done on time. But as I watch each movie, I am going to try my best to write up a detailed account of what I think about every moment of the movies and give that to you guys in video form so that you can hear me talking about this series in more detail. As said, this video is purely just to announce it, give my overview of my experiences with the series, some general thoughts that I had while recording this, and just to let you know what's happening. I do hope that you guys will stick around and watch my playthrough of Fallen Order, and will watch my various other playthroughs and the videos I do for this. But if you're not interested in it, that's up to you. But I look forward to talking about this because this is still a big thing for me. So for now, just click around the screen if you want to watch something, or if you want to be notified when Fallen Order starts playing, just subscribe and hit the bell icon. And tell your friends. I would really appreciate if we could get some more people watching. But until next time, guys, see yas.